Hey all, Matt with ListenUp. We're here in New York City going to the House of Sound. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, welcome to the House of Sound. Let's come in and listen to some stuff.
Awesome, man. Let's do it. The House of Sound is a destination where style and technology come together, offering guests the chance to spend the day indulging in hi-fi and home theater works of art. This is a space to experience the best gear made by McIntosh, Sonus faber, Rotel, Michi and Pro-Ject, all in an exquisite Manhattan townhome featuring impeccable design and top-class hospitality. This is what no expense spared hi-fi and home theater looks like, in an environment that looks and functions like a real home, albeit a very nice home. So when we were given an invitation to get a private tour, we jumped at the chance and jumped on a plane headed to New York. What we found was something well beyond a typical factory or design center tour. This is one of the great days to work in this industry, when you get to spend your time immersed listening to your favorite records and watching clips from amazing movies in a hi-fi and home theater dream world.
It's like MTV Cribs, right? It's much like MTV Cribs. This is, as you can see, where a lot of the magic happens. We got a lot of folks working in here today. Yeah. And later this evening, this is going to be a very, very busy spot because we're having, like I said, an event going on tonight, so there'll be a lot of cooking and drinks being poured in here for the house.
Yeah, you think you're going to come just to experience your senses in terms of sound, but we had an amazing meal here, wine. It was like incredible yesterday.
It's a lot of fun. Let's head up and take a look at some of the listening notes. Yeah, so now we're up on the roof. We are in the heart of Chelsea, New York. So if we take a look around, we have this beautiful slice of the city, skyscrapers, old brick buildings. We have this really cool water tower in the building right next to us. This is really great when we have things like today where we're having a big party. So there will probably be a lot of people up on the roof tonight. We set up a bartender up here. And then all of the sound on the roof is provided by, we have Sonus faber Asters mounted here on the other side of the elevator building as well, powered by a McIntosh MI128 that we've got downstairs. But yeah, this is a really great spot to come up and have a lunch, you know, have a nice drink after work with your buddies.
And with these Asters, you can leave them up year-round, full weather sealed, and we got to hear them a little bit. They sound great. I mean, way bigger sound than the form factor, I think.
They're an IP67 rating, so I believe that means they can be submerged for 30 minutes. So unless you're in an actually underwater storm, you should be good. Really cool thing about them is they have a really easy mounting and dismounting mechanism. So the wiring goes into the bracket that's mounted to the wall. The speaker clicks in, and you just have a single screw. So if you were gonna, for some reason, be underwater for 40 minutes, you could take them down, or if you were gonna be out of town or something like that, you've got a ground level installation. It's really easy to take them down, put them back up by yourself without calling out your integrator.
That's awesome. It's beautiful up here.
Beautiful views.
I'd have a drink and listen to some music.
Well, maybe we'll do that after this.
All right.
Now let's go ahead and go down to our second McIntosh reference system. Yeah, so here we are on the second reference system we have in the house. This is personally my favorite selection of equipment that we have in the house, which is interesting because it's also in what is objectively the worst room to put this equipment in the house, but that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah, this is a very living room.
Exactly.
You'd be stoked to have this if this was your house, but it's not unobtainium.
It's not, but it's also very sonically imperfect, right? So if we look behind here, we have half of a wall on this side of the room. This wall is all glass. We've got design in here with hard surfaces all over the place. But we've done a lot of really meticulous speaker setup, and once again, using really nice equipment, including another MAN220. So in this room, I did a lot more of the microphone readings because it's such an odd shape, and we got really amazing results. I mean, even around the corner into this L-shaped room, we was able to do readings in there, and I got some really good comments about even in that area, off of the axis of the speakers, you're still getting good sonic imaging out of these things.
That's amazing.
So if we look at the rest of the equipment here, we start out at the top with the C2700 McIntosh all-tube preamp. Our sources connected to it are an MCD 600 and an MT5. Those all go out into the MEN 220. And then we go out into a pair of the MC 3500 Mark IIs. So these are the second generation of the amplifier that powered Woodstock. So if you were backstage at Woodstock, there were dozens and dozens of original MI 3500s because it was originally an industrial amp, which is why it's got a silver face instead of a black face. Really, really beautiful sound. You've got 4 pairs of EL 506Ss in there providing the power. It's a slightly different version of a KT88. And then those go out into a pair of these Sonus faber Amati G5s. So absolutely wonderful latest generation of Sonus faber speakers. There's a lot of really cool designs in here. The new mid-range driver with the phase plug gives us a physical way to affect the timing of the drivers.
Sure.
So this way, the tweeter, the mid-range, and the woofers are all performing ideally the way we want to without having to do electronic stuff to the speaker. It's happening actually with a physical waveguide here, which allows you to project the mids at the same frequency or the same rate that the other 2 sets of drivers are working. Handmade in Italy, beautiful Wingay wood on this one. Just really, really amazing speakers.
You can never quite capture it on camera, like how beautiful the cabinetry is. I mean, I've tried high-end photography, video. It's just like you have to see it with your eyes. Everything, their whole thing about all natural materials, it just, I don't know, resonates with your human senses.
Yeah, and it goes through it. The natural materials is a really important factor of what Sonus faber does. So even on the marine grade speakers that Sonus faber builds, even on the indoor outdoor speakers like we looked at upstairs, the theater speakers, these are all paper cones and silk dome tweeters. It's the Sonus faber really, the whole philosophy is to have a natural sound. So in addition to the natural materials on the drivers, we're also looking at typically a non-traditional box-shaped speaker. We're eliminating a lot of the reflections inside of the cabinet that way. And the whole idea is to produce a musical instrument, right?
Sure.
And as you look at it, you look at the woodwork, you look at the very fine leather on the front, once again, natural materials, and these things are truly instruments to reproduce the instruments that have been recorded.
And you talk about Amati, and we're at what, 350 watts per channel?
Watts per channel, yes.
So you're able to push a ton of power, but it's that big, rich tube power into these Amatis. I mean, it is just, I don't even know how to describe it. I feel like it's all of that natural sound stuff, right? It's the fact that we've got an analog signal path and then all these natural materials. You get a sound that is warm, but not like bloomy warm. It just has this gentle, natural, even if it's punching. Yeah, like it's really great.
And the combination of McIntosh amplification, especially McIntosh tube amplification, and Sonus faber speakers is providing us a very, very emotionally resonant sound as well, right?
It is.
We're not always looking for analytical precision, but what we always provide is envelopment in the music.
Yeah, you could get lost in this room for an entire day.
Yeah.
Just spinning records.
Other really great thing about this, I love that you don't have to blast these things to get that full sonic image either. You're getting all of the detail that you want, you're getting that emotional connection, even at conversation volumes. What we're going to now is our reference system, what we call reference system 1. So in this room, as you look around, you'll see that every component in here is the best thing that McIntosh builds to do that thing. So if we actually come over to our source tower, we'll take a look at all of the brains of the system here. You'll notice also we're in the midst of setting up for an event tonight, so there's some stuff strewn about. It is a dual purpose house. We do events as well as the hi-fi tours and things of that nature.
I can tell you this would be a fantastic place for a house party.
It has been a fantastic place for a house party a couple times, and we're going to do that tonight as well. So it's gonna be a busy day today. As we look at our sources here, we have 3 sources hooked up to this system. We have the McIntosh MT10, so obviously this is the top end of what McIntosh does for analog sources. It's an absolutely beautiful machine. Take a look at it, and first thing we see is this huge platter. So big benefit from that is we have really even speeds, keeps all the inertia going. As we go down here, we take a look at our digital sources. We have the MB20 Bluetooth receiver, and we also have the MCD 12000 CD player. So it's SACDs, CDs, and it's our most capable DAC that McIntosh builds currently. So we run our streaming and the optical signal from our display into here.
Very cool. So that's your digital hub.
That's our digital hub. We also have a Room Nucleus Plus that we're using for our streaming. And then all of that goes into the C12000 preamp. So this is our reference level preamp. It's a 2-box unit. There's a lot of benefits from that. Obviously up here we have the low voltage stuff, so audio inputs, tubes, meters, anything that you want where actual signal is going through. And then down here on the controller, we have all of the controls. Yeah. So microprocessor for volume control, power input, input switching, the display. So anything that's a higher voltage is down here, less noise between those components, less interference.
I mean, if I were to, as much as there's like heavyweight stuff in this room, if there's one thing I wanted to take home with me, this 2-chassis preamp is like best of the best.
It's really, really amazing. And then when you combine it with the digital section of the MCD 12000, which is the overall intended full package, right? You have your beautiful dedicated analog and your beautiful dedicated digital. You put them together and you get this insanely capable package.
So what's powering these monsters?
Yes, as we go out from that insanely capable package, we go straight into an MC2KW on each side. So this is our largest monoblock. Monoblock, yes, even though it is 3 boxes. There's a few reasons why it's 3 boxes. One of which is that you can't legally pull enough power from the wall to do 8,000 clean watts at peak from a single outlet, which is why...
Wait, can you say that one more time? How much peak?
8,000 at peak. Clean as well.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, this is another area where we had to put in some electrical, so this room also had 3 dedicated 20 amps put in on each side to power these things. So the other big benefit of, if you're gonna do it in 3 outlets anyway, in order to produce the power that you need to do, why not make it quiet? So this is a fully quad balanced amplifier. The top box produces 1,000 watts of your music. The bottom box produces 1,000 watts of your inverted music, which are then combined in the controller and output as 2,000 watts of program clean, noiseless music.
And that's the thing we could never capture on video, but we did some demos in here and pin drop quiet, like dead quiet, and then straight into amazing dynamics.
It's pretty crazy. One of the songs I like to demonstrate that particular phenomenon with is Hurt by 9 Inch Nails. If you've ever listened to that on a really good pair of headphones or a really good system, you'll hear a lot of things you might not have heard before, and there's a very thorough low volume static throughout the entire song. If you take that and you're playing it, it's like, oh, this is the ground, this is the noise floor, until you pause it, and there is no noise floor.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. And then all of that goes out to a pair of our XRT 2.1. So this is a monolithic beast of a speaker with, as was pointed out to me the other day, a squid tentacle looking array of tweeters, but they do a very, very specific purpose. So this is a line array. A lot of benefits of having a line array. It's not the only speaker design out there, but for what we're trying to do here, it is the absolute perfect speaker design. So big benefit is that where we're standing, we only actually receive energy from a few of these tweeters. Where you're standing, you're receiving energy from all of the tweeters, which means you and us are getting the same relative volume because we're receiving less energy. Really, really great for even distribution of sound throughout the room, as we experienced when we listened to that really bombastic drum solo from Amati. It feels like you're in a room with a drummer, not like you're in a room with speakers reproducing a drummer. Or at least that's my experience here.
And you mentioned there's some positive effects for rooms with greater height too, right? It keeps that kind of signal path a little bit more at head level?
Exactly, yeah. So we're in a room with fairly high ceilings, I think like 15, 16 feet in here. And this 7-foot tall speaker does not really project too much above its own height because of the line array and because of the way that we have the mid-woofers and the woofers arranged. So it is a very directed sound while also dispersing really well where it's attempting to direct that sound. One of the experiments I really like to have people do is sit on the couch, listen, and get up and walk directly towards the speaker and have them note the lack of any sort of change in volume or sound stage It's really, really quite remarkable.
And like we said about like a house party, I mean, we ended up in here with, I don't know, 12, 13 of us. And even as you're mingling and moving around the room, it stays, like you said, consistent from a volume, and like you don't feel like you're getting punched in the face when you get too close to it.
Yeah.
But it's also a speaker you don't have to be in the dead sweet spot.
No,
I mean, everywhere in this room was sounding great, and that's no subs, right?
No subs. No subs anywhere in the house except for the theater.
Amazing.
Yeah. The other component we have in the system that's inside the cabinet is an MEN220, which we did some experimenting on when we were listening yesterday, and I personally have been blown away by what the MEN220 can do in these systems, especially when you're arranging things the way we've done here, where all of these rooms are real rooms. There's not an extensive amount of sound treatment in here. You know, we've got big glass windows behind our speakers. We've got open spaces in here. But the unit like the MEN220 is able to take that space and do what it says on the package, which is make the room perfect.
And so for folks that might not know that unit, it is designed as room correction.
Yeah, so
what's the process of setting that up?
Specifically what it is a room correction device. So what you do is it goes in line between your preamp and your power amp, and you can use it to biamp or to just do everything in a single signal. And you take a microphone, you put it in your primary listening position, it takes some readings, plays back some pink noise, reads the echoes of the room, then it has you put it in a couple of other spots to get to what it decides is the general shape of the room. Depending on the amount of time you have, you can do readings all over the place. In the room upstairs, I think I was talking about, I did like 15 or 16 readings in the room. It's a really odd shaped room, but the end result is that the MEN220, by using the echoes of the sound it's playing back, learns the shape of your room and is then able to provide timing correction to your speakers to give you a much tighter, much more realistic sound stage.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like where we're at with hi-fi these days, not incorporating some sort of room correction, I mean, because you can spend all this money on hardware, and if the room is just untreatable, you know, a lot of glass and things like that, if you want to squeak out that last 10%, yeah, I mean, you probably still need to do acoustic treatment where you can.
Yeah.
But like having something like a room correction element in your system is amazing.
I think the important thing is that neither solution is the whole package, right?
Right.
A combination of some physical room treatment and some electronic room correction working together in concert really give us the effect that we've done here.
And I mean, we've been amazed. This house is truly a house. This is not an anechoic chamber.
Yeah.
And you know, as we walk around in this video, lots of hard surfaces, lots of stuff that could be terrible for audio, and every room just sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll swing by there as well. But I mean, directly off to the side of us is a working kitchen where we provide the hospitality that we also provide on these tours. So we're cooking meals, we're pouring drinks, we're making coffees, etc. here for both the folks that work in the house permanently and all of our guests that come through. But as we were talking about the MC3500s and powering not only Woodstock, we also have a lot of McIntosh here on stage with the Grateful Dead. A long association with them using McIntosh for their backline as well as the guitar amplification as well. So let's go ahead into the first of our smaller listening rooms here. And this is a lot closer to what the average person has set up. This is a 10-foot by 13-foot room with a couple of nice comfy chairs. And then we look at this system. So this is a couple systems. This is more equipment than the average person. But what we have here is the ability to show off more than one thing depending on who wants to come through. So we have nice Michi separates with the P5 Series 2 and the S5 stereo power amp. We have the full Diamond Series complement with the DT6000 CD player and the RA6000 integrated amplifier. And really, really crown jewel of this thing right now is the new RAS 5000. This thing has blown the mind of everyone who has experienced it so far, including myself, and I've worked with Rotel for a very long time. It's a $3,000 streaming integrated amplifier that puts out 220 watts Class AB at 4 ohms, has HDMI eARC, has everything you possibly want, as well as, I don't know, you tell me, pretty great sound.
Really, I mean, we had to play like a round of like The Price is Right last night because we all listened to it and it was like, wait, is this thing $8,000? Is this thing $5,000? Oh, it's $3,000. And obviously running through some beautiful speakers, but truly an impressive unit, and this is like hot off the presses from Rotel. This is less than a
Released
month old at this point.
2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
I think, what is it? It's Thursday? Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think two weeks ago. I mean, obviously the fact that they're playing through a pair of Sonus faber Olympica Nova 3s, which is a $15,000 pair of speakers, doesn't hurt. But we also have to think about the fact that it is the weakest link in this chain, and this chain is very strong.
Yeah, beautiful unit. We've been really loving the Michi stuff at ListenUp as well, but I think Rotel Michi is like, they're in a new phase of development, and the products coming out are just like, everyone seems to be raising the bar.
I have a Michi X5 at home. I absolutely love this stuff. Really, really amazingly built, beautiful, does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is have every input you need and more power than you could possibly ask for. And then the other things in this room, we are also using all AudioQuest cables in this room and AudioQuest power conditioning. And then for stands, we have these stands from HRS. This is the EXR series. Really, really amazing stuff to work with. Very, very solidly built. It's all aircraft grade aluminum. Really amazing engineering on these things, and beautiful to look at as well.
And I'm assuming Pro-Ject for the turntable?
Pro-Ject on the turntable. That is the RPM 9 carbon, and we have the Phonobox RS that's feeding into.
Perfect. It's a great sounding room, and yeah, this is very much what I would have in my house.
Exactly.
I mean, 10 by 13 is kind of the listening room for most of us normal people that can't have reference one.
Yeah, those of us without ballrooms can have setups like this in their home. And then next door, we'll go check that out. And we have the same idea with McIntosh electronics. And so now we're in our listening room too. We lovingly also refer to it as a disco room, as you can see from this light wall over to the side. But this is the same idea with McIntosh electronics as opposed to Rotel. So we have a couple different setups we can swap back and forth between. Typically we're running the MA12000 as our primary amplification in here. For sources, we have an MT2 and an MCT500. We're also streaming from a Blue Sound Node in here currently. On the other side, we have a C53 preamp going into an MC462 quad balance amplifier. So this is a similar technology to the MC2KW we looked at in the reference system, but on a smaller scale. So each half of this 450 watt amplifier is essentially two 225 watt amplifiers.
And it's doing that inversion?
Exactly, yeah. So it's once again, an almost completely noiseless amplifier at idle. And then all of that is going out into what I think is a truly magical little box, the Electa Amator 3 from Sonus faber. So this is a solid walnut, Carrara marble, brass, leather, 7-inch two-way bookshelf speaker that I will go ahead and let you give your impression of.
I think you said it best. I was like, oh, is it a two-way? And you're like, it's a three-way. You've got mid-range, tweeter, and magic, because it is making a bass response that is unnatural for a speaker of this size. You get an incredible full-range sound. If your room is about these dimensions, 10 by 13, 12 by 15, you would never need more than this.
No.
I mean, they sound fantastic, and I'm a big fan of a two-way just for the simplicity, less crossover, and just beautiful clarity. It's an amazing speaker. The presentation with the marble and the walnut doesn't hurt. I mean, talk about natural materials, but like in a heavyweight format, they just feel super premium, and they sound even better than they look.
Yeah, this is the room that most often gets the no, but where is the sub question from people.
Yeah.
It's pretty moving what these things are able to do.
And any room correction in here, or here we're just going straight out of the box?
The only places in the house where we're using room correction are in the two reference systems in the much larger, more odd-shaped rooms. In these rooms, the only room correction we're using is speaker placement.
Yep. And I can attest, this was probably my favorite sounding room overall. We got to sit in here and just play some tracks from disco to metal. Yeah. And it's got an incredible range and presents all of this music in a truly beautiful way.
Yeah, and I'm of the philosophy that you should be able to play like anything through any speaker, and these really show that that's what Sonus faber is doing.
Yeah.
What we're about to look at is our cinema here at the House of Sound. This says, everyone who I've brought through here has told me it's the best sounding cinema they've ever been to. It's the best sounding cinema I've ever experienced. So let's go ahead and take a look. So as the first thing you see when you come in the room is this massive stack of McIntosh amplifiers and processors here in the corner. What this room is a combination of McIntosh amplification and processing and Sonus Faber Arena speakers all around us. Specifically, the configuration we're looking at is a 9.16.4. So we have 6 of the Sonus Faber Arena 20s that you see in the wall around us. Behind the screen, there are 3 Arena 30s. In the ceiling, there are 4 Arena 10s, and then around the room, there are 16 of the new Arena S15 subwoofer, 10 of which you see here under the screen, and then 6 of them at the back of the room handling the surround, Atmos, and rear fill low frequency. As we look at this, let's talk a little bit about why we configured it this way and what all of these speakers are doing. Primarily when you go into a theater, especially something in a home, you're looking at a 0.1, 0.2. If you're lucky, you've got 0.4 on the low frequency. Yep. The prevailing philosophy for decades has been that in theaters, low end is omnidirectional. Those of us who have experienced the real world know that that's not actually true. So in this space, what we've done is we've taken the program signal for all 9 of the Arena 20s and 30s and the 4 Arena 10s, and we've combined that in a full range arrangement with the subwoofers. So in each of these directions, we've got a full range signal from lower, and you can feel the higher than you can hear. So what we've got in here is these 2 S15s are paired, timed precisely to this speaker, the 2 in the middle to the center speaker, the 2 at that end to there. And as I mentioned, we've got 1 sub on each of the sides, 1 sub on each of the rear, and 1 sub on each half of the ceiling. So as we experienced when we were playing clips from Top Gun, yep, Dune, etc., we're able to get this really, really, truly immersive experience while also providing extreme high fidelity as we, with the live concert clips we were looking at.
Yep. I mean, it's amazing. You actually feel a little bit of pressure wave, and like you can feel it move through the room in a way. Like I've experienced great bass in home theater, but not with that kind of like, I don't know, visceral, almost washes over you type feeling. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, Roberto Gamba, who is the director of custom installation here at the McIntosh Group, describes it as a extreme level articulation. Really important about these subwoofers in particular is that they are also free of any mechanical resonance. They have 2 pairs of horizontally opposed drivers. So when you are in this space, everything that you physically experience in the room is air being moved by a speaker, which I'll leave you to attest to what that experience was like. But for me, it's very immersive.
Very. And it's crazy, right? They're only using a 6.5-inch driver, so it's really fast, tight bass.
Yeah, that's the other major factor of the S15s, aside from the zero mechanical resonance, is that they are using 2 pairs of 6.5-inch drivers. So we're able to achieve an approximation of the excursion that a 15 would get, but at the speed to match the drivers. So you're not getting any crazy out of phase sounds out of every single note like you would typically get out of a larger diameter driver.
Yeah, and I mean, with this thing absolutely rumbling, you could put your hand against that. No cabinet movement, no shake. It's amazing that they're moving that kind of air without vibration throughout the whole room. It's just an airwave, and it's super cool.
Yeah, one of our favorite little demos we do is we play a clip from the latest John Wick film, which has a very, very loud punch at the beginning. He's hitting a punching mat, and we like to have people come up and put their hand on the speaker, the first hit, feel nothing, and then move down to in front of the port, and your hand vibrates with the air coming off of these speakers. It's pretty phenomenal. So it's a really nice space to be able to watch films and show people things. We're also using a really nice Sony GTZ 380 laser projector. We have a screen from Screen Research, which we found to be the most acoustically transparent for what we're trying to do. And we're also using an audio matrix from Biamp to achieve the timing that we're doing with all 16 of these subwoofers.
And it was amazing to me, I think this was just kind of an aside, but your background in as an engineer, they had to do crazy electrical just to prep this theater room, right?
Yeah. So I have a mechanical engineering background. I used to be a fighter jet mechanic. In this room, this was a theater before we moved into the house. The equipment that was in here was pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. Obviously, we have these very large mono blocks, very large 2-channel stereo amplifiers in here. So we decided that we wanted to make sure that we had clean power at all times. So we put in $40,000 worth of electrical into this room to get 20 new dedicated 20 amp circuits so that all of these amplifiers are receiving the absolute cleanest power they can get. It's wild.
The House of Sound is a hi-fi and home theater experience unlike any that exists, allowing you to be immersed in awe-inspiring sights and sounds with an environment to match. This is not about experiencing reference systems perfectly placed in a highly treated listening space, but rather experiencing how this level of sight and sound can engage your senses in a real home environment. We were treated to amazing hospitality, and the whole experience is really something incredible to behold. You really need to experience it for yourself, and if you're interested, you can contact ListenUp for details or visit houseofsoundnyc.com.